They came at dawn, while the children were still sleeping. The men carried clubs, knives, and guns, creeping through the dry Arizona brush as the sun crept over the hills. What happened next would leave the ground soaked in blood and the soul of a territory forever stained. More than 140 Apaches, most of them women and children, were slaughtered by their neighbors, and the killers were never punished. The San Pedro River Valley had been a place of uneasy coexistence. By the spring of 1871, a group of Aravaipa and Pinal Apaches had surrendered to U.S. troops at Camp Grant, just outside modern-day Tucson. They were tired of running, hungry, war-weary, and the Army, under Lieutenant Royal Whitman, offered them peace. They accepted. The Apaches set up camp near the fort. Over 500 people, mostly families, lived in makeshift shelters, gathering wood, trading with local Mexicans, and collecting rations from the Army. The soldiers saw them as friendly, but many settlers in Tucson didn't. To the white ranchers and Mexican residents nearby, every Apache was a threat. The Apaches, who'd been driven from their ancestral lands, had fought bitterly against encroachment for decades. Raids on livestock and occasional killings had fueled a deep hatred. Now, seeing those same people living peacefully so close to town stirred rage. Tensions exploded when a ranch was attacked and a boy was kidnapped, allegedly by Apache raiders, though no link to the Camp Grant band was ever proven. The rumors spread anyway. The fuse was lit. On April 30th, 1871, a mob formed. About 6 American men, nearly 50 Mexican men, and over 90 Tohono O'odham warriors marched out of Tucson. They were led unofficially by William Uri and a Mexican militia captain named Jesus Maria Elias. No military orders, no legal sanction, just vengeance. They reached the Apache camp just before sunrise. The men fanned out silently, surrounding the sleeping village. There were no guards. The Apache warriors were away hunting. Only the elderly, the women, and the children remained. The massacre began. Screams tore through the dawn as the mob fell upon the camp. They killed with bullets, clubs, and knives. Tents were torn apart. Mothers begged for their children's lives. Infants were crushed or thrown into the air and caught on bayonets. No mercy, no hesitation. When it was over, 144 Apaches were dead. All but 8 were women and children. The rest were captured and sold into slavery in Mexico. Lieutenant Whitman, the Army officer who had offered them protection, was horrified. He buried the bodies, he wrote reports, but the damage was done. The reaction? Celebration. In Tucson, the killers were hailed as heroes. Crowds raised money for the Tohono O'odham who participated. Newspaper editorials called it a victory over savagery. But far away in Washington, the reports caused outrage. A federal investigation was launched. Testimony was taken. The evidence was overwhelming. Still, when a grand jury convened in Tucson, not a single man was indicted. The jury declared it had no true bill, no charges, no justice. The Apaches who survived never returned to Camp Grant. Their trust shattered, their families destroyed, they melted back into the mountains, some to survive, some to retaliate. The U.S. government, fearing wider conflict, began pushing harder for forced relocation and reservation control. Arizona's bloody path westward continued. And today? A few plaques, a memorial stone, but no national park, no battlefield site. The Camp Grant massacre remains a footnote in most history books, overshadowed by battles with soldiers, forgotten by design. But for the descendants of those who died and those who killed, the ground still remembers. Thank you for listening to Deserted Trails. Subscribe for more forgotten stories from the old frontier.